Good morning. How are you this morning? It is Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. My name is Benjamin Weir with Octal 7. Going to run through some custom AutoCAD commands. These can be downloaded via the website. Go to www.octal7.com and navigate to the downloads page there. You can find the link. Just going to go through a few short commands this morning. Let's have a look here. Just going to do something proximity points. It's going to look at some like AutoCAD points and create proximities from that. A little utility program there for creating buffers from polylines, and we're going to look at a little bit of the functionality in the TXT Mac and the TXTLABEL commands. So let's get over to our AutoCAD here. So I'm running AutoCAD 2020 here. These should work with AutoCAD 2020, AutoCAD 2021, AutoCAD 2022, and I have AutoCAD running AutoCAD map specifically for the flavor here. Some of these commands will work in any version of AutoCAD or any flavor of AutoCAD, I should say, but for the live stream today we're working in AutoCAD map. I have my geomap set here in AutoCAD with a coordinate projection here of UTM 8312, just so that I can get in the Bing photo here or whatever streaming from TomTom and Microsoft Bing. But if you had other AirPhoto or something in there, you could use that as well. Let's go into, I'm just going to pick on the Echodale area here today. And I created a saved view to jump me right over to that. So we can see Echodale Regional Park here. And let's start with the proximity points. So I'm just going to add in some random points here into my drawing. So I'm on my point layer here. I have a couple simple layers set up, and I'm just going to use the point command. I'm going to put a point here, a couple around the path and the baseball diamond here. Let's do one down at the boat launch there. Let's put one on the information center, and let's pan over a little bit. The playground area there and the little dock area there as well. And we could go over and put some on, say, the old house in the old homestead house there in Echodale. And let's put one on the barn there as well. And put one on the overflow parking here. And I'm just going to execute the proximity point command here now. And it asks for a layer name. I'm just going to use the asterisk here to select all layers, and a maximum distance. So let's go with 150 meters, let's say. And we can specify here a radius for a circle as well. I'm going to make that 100 meters. And then you can see as we move the mouse around here, we're going to get some dimensions show up to the points that we have in the drawing. And so this is on the points layer, but I just use the asterisk there for any point or any layer, sorry. And we can mouse around, we can see that we get proximity showing to any point that's within that 150 meters. As we move away, the proximities disappear where we don't have anything within that 150, and we have a circle there being drawn at 100 meter radius. So as we get close to the points again, we see those proximities. I'm just going to hit escape, and let's change my layer here to my annotation. I've got a typo in that layer name there, it looks like. Let's correct that if we can. There we are. And so when we do repeat that command, proximity point, we've got the asterisk there. I'm just going to accept that. Got our previous value of 150 meters, going to accept that. And the circle, let's change that to 150 now. So then we can see the circle at 150. And if I click a point here, it should throw in some dimensions. These are just being created on whatever the active dimension style is, right? So I just have standard set up in this sample drawing right now, so it's just applying that. And we've got those dimensions in there. Let's just see, maybe change that color for the layer here. Might not be visible enough. Orange. Maybe a bright blue. See how that contrasts. Looks good on my screen. It's difficult for me to tell sometimes what things might look like on the live stream, that with the bandwidth or limitations thereof. So I'm just gonna stick with the blue. I think it looks all right here. So if we go back and repeat the proximity point, I'm just going to do that one more time with the same values, just using different color here, just so we can see. Hopefully it shows up nice on your display. And as I mouse around, you can see it just is showing those proximities to whatever points that I have. And so in an earlier video, I showed the RPass flight planning command there. And this uses, or sorry, that command leverages some of the technology that was built in this command here. It's just a little bit more fine-tuned with what layers it's selecting and that sort of stuff automatically. So if I need to check any sort of proximities to something, so if I'm checking, like, let's say we're camped out over here, or on the beach maybe, let's say we're on the beach. What's the distance there from our position on the beach to the concession there, right? We can repeat, and we can throw in as many proximities as we like. So if we're over here, we're sitting under the trees here somewhere, what's the distance to the playground and the little dock area there? So you can use this for a number of applications. I'm sure you can let your mind wander on what we could apply there, but just thought I'd pick on this area here for a little bit of fun. All right, so I'm going to just get rid of these guys. Let's erase everything in the drawing. And let's move on to the next command here. So I'm going to do the PLINEBUFFER command. So let's just go over to the kind of the green space over here. And we're just going to trace, I'll just switch to my point layer, let's say for now. I'm just going to trace this path here. Use this as a sample buffer area. There we are, something like that. So I'm just tracing a trail here, but this could be something like a pipeline or a road or anything else, right, that we want that polyline to represent. And so now in my AutoCAD, I'm going to just type in the PLINEBUFFER. And we can select this polyline, and we'll get it constructing this buffer here. So it just does an offset essentially from that polyline to wherever we are moving the crosshairs. Just going to escape that, and let's change my layer here to that annotation. So it's just creating that offset there. it's just essentially really just drawing, like you'll see the different colors there. It's just drawing the offsets and then creating some caps here. Now we can specify some values in here, like let's say the distance. We can specify a distance. Right now it's on our pick, but if I do a right click and do the D for distance here, I can specify a distance. So if I want 20 meters, let's say, it's going to lock that to 20 meters now. So even as I mouse around here with my crosshairs, it's maintaining that same distance. It's been locked into that. Now what I can also do is I can change these caps. So I can do that through the ribbon here as well, or I can do right click and I can change the start cap. So let's do that. Let's go to the box. So instead of offsetting a nice rounded arc there, it's offsetting a line and extending that buffer, right? So that we create this sort of box at the end. We can do the same thing with the end there as well. So I can right click and say end cap, and I can change that to box as well. And just to see some of these other options here, let's go through the ribbon here. So we can do none, and we can see then it does not create a buffer, right? It just ends at whatever that offset would be. Those essentially the offset lines for that proximity. The flat, it's just going to draw a segment straight across there, right? And of course we've seen the box there and we've seen the round. So it just creates that arc in there. There are some other options in behind the scenes. Actually, we could cap this with a block or doing some other geometry in there as well, but it's not exposed through the command, but it is technically possible to do some of that. Let's just change this to the flat here for now on the end. And if we do this extend here, we can actually change this. So if we want to say extend 10 meters or something, right, we're going to just extend that line or the end of that polyline essentially 10 meters, and then we're going to draw in the cap. So that's going to work the same with the flat, or if we did the box, right, it's going to extend a little, or the round. So we can do some other options in here if we needed to do something like a crazy offset here. So we can extend it quite a bit if we really needed to or wanted to. Same thing if I do the flat, it's just going to extend that the 100 meters in this case. So if we have our line work just terminating at some point, but we still want to create a buffer beyond that, we can do that. Or if we just want to leave it open, can do that there. So let's just go back to the rounds. I'm going to change these offsets there to 0. And once I'm happy with that, I can click a point, or I can hit enter here for done, and it should draw that in. And it just uses the same layer that was created from that polyline. So in this case, the polyline was drawn on the points layer, so it put it on the points layer. So if I wanted to change that to the annotation or some other layer, I would have to just do that manually. All right, so I hope that's kind of interesting. It is a nice little utility to create a quick buffer from a polyline. Of course, there are other tools within AutoCAD MAP that allow you to do buffers, but this tool does work in, say, vanilla AutoCAD or architectural, AutoCAD architectural or electrical. If you needed a buffer in some other AutoCAD as well, you could use this command in there. So if you don't have access to the mapping, some of the mapping features, right, you could easily create a buffer with this command then in there. All right, so I'm going to move on to the last set of commands here with the TXT Mac and the TXTLABEL. So let's just have a look at that. So I'm just going to create a piece of dtext here, and I'll use the justification of a middle center here, let's say. And I'm just going to put my text here. I'm going to stick with, actually, let's make this a height of 15, just so it's a bit bigger. Rotation 0. And that might be actually too big. Let me make that a little bit smaller. Justification, middle center. Height, let's go with 6 then. And our rotation 0. All right, so I'll just call this path for my label. And what I can do is, if we wanted to rotate this onto our line work, right, we'd have to do something like a grip edit, move, and then click this grip and like rotate or something, right, to get it to rotate in to match our line work, right? So a little bit of a time-consuming process, but what I can do is I can use the TXT Mac. So this is actually an acronym there, like a text, move, align, copy. So there's a lot of functionality built into this one command. But it allows me to go and move this text. You can see there's some options there to say copy or create multiple. I need to turn on my O snaps, so put on my O snaps by pressing F3, and then you can see that it's going to put this label along my line, and I've got that buffer in the way, so I might actually delete it or zoom in here a little bit if I can get onto this other line. So it is in the way. I'll have to just delete that, but you can see actually how it does a nice smooth alignment there. As I move around that buffer there, it'll automatically pick out the rotation for that text, right? So I can move along there however I like. I don't have to take much time or effort to say rotate that text, right? Very easy. It should come in plan readable. It is based on the UCS, so it's based on the world UCS. I don't have it worked in right now to update based on the user UCS or a user assigned UCS. It just really rotates it based on the world. And so it does have a little bit of a limitation there with plan readable, let's say, in trying to work if your plan is rotated at some other angle. That is something on the list for future development, so that it will take into account or help work better with the user assigned UCS value there, but right now it's just working with the world essentially. So you can see that moves around quite nicely. So let's get rid of that buffer line there, and we do the TXT Mac and turn on our O snaps, right? Make sure that's on, and then it's going to move to that line. And as I move away, it'll snap off of it. You can see there's a little bit of a line that appears there as you move your mouse away. It goes from a green to a yellow to a red, just to give you a warning that you're getting away from that line, and then it'll snap back to the mouse there. Right, so I can position that text anywhere along that line then very easily. And if I needed to create more options in there, or sorry, more labels, I could do the copy, right, rather than just moving it. So I can do copy, and I can easily create more of these labels along my line work then. So let's just do this, zoom out there a little bit, and let's just move these over, get rid of that one, move this guy over, and we'll do TXT Mac. Select that guy, and if I do multiple, I can very quickly add a whole bunch of labels along there, right? Very nice. If I do TXT Mac and take this guy, you can see it'll default the rotation back to that 0 essentially, right? Now there are some other fun things in here as well, so I'm just going to get rid of all these labels, and we're going to take this text here, TXT Mac, select that, and right now it's just snapping to the line. It's going in between essentially centered on that line, right? But what we can do is we can change some options here. So in the command line, or I can actually pick through the ribbon as well. So if I want it to come above, it's going to be offset above that line. Or if I do B here on the keyboard in the command line there and enter, it's going to go below. And you can also change it, excuse me, you can also put on this automatic. So as I move my mouse either above or below that line, in this case working with a polyline, but should work with a line or circle or anything else pretty much, it's going to move that label either above or below. So it gives you a nice quick option there as well. So if I want to do like multiple, I can place it up on there. I can come here, put it above, come here, put it below, right? And I can even use it to say insert multiple copies of the text all over the place, right? So not exactly useful in something like that, but you can hopefully get the idea, right? All right, so let's just take that text, put it back over here. One other thing here with the TXT Mac. Let's just have a look at that. It does give you some other interesting readouts on the ribbon there. So if you look, it shows a distance that you are along that polyline in this case, but it could be along a line or whatever else, whatever curve entity essentially that you want to be moving around. So if you needed to kind of position something in a more accurate position or whatever on that, you could use that readout there to kind of get a better idea of where you are. This polyline, of course, is two-dimensional, so it has a 0 elevation, but if I had this polyline at some elevation, so let's just take that guy and grab the property palette here, and let's say this is at an elevation of 10 meters. So now when we do TXT Mac, it should give us that elevation in the ribbon there. So it's reading an elevation of 10. I find this comes in a little bit handy when labeling contour lines, and I have contour lines or maybe other geometry at different elevations, and I want to make sure I'm on the correct contour line with inserting that label. So I know that, okay, I've got my contour label says 750 meters or something like that, and I want to make sure I'm putting it on the correct line, right? Rather than trying to read through the whole contour map to see which line I'm on, or clicking that line and checking it in property palette, I can easily check through the TXT Mac there that I'm actually on the correct line with the correct elevation that way. So you can use that as a little bit of a check. Now there is one thing here. Oh, something happened with my display. That was weird. It kind of cut out there. Didn't notice anything on the stream, I don't think, but my monitor flickered. Anyways, one other kind of neat option here as well. You can see, like, as I move away, right, that rubber band there gives me that red, and then the text or the label eventually snaps off. Right, so if I don't like that, what I can do is when I'm on the line here, there's this lock option. I can lock it through the ribbon, but if I just do on the keyboard, I do L and enter, it enables that lock there for me. You should see it down in the command line. It says that the curve lock is enabled, and you should see that indicator up in the ribbon there as well. So now it doesn't matter how far I move my mouse away from that line, it's going to keep that label on that line. So if I needed to snap to some other geometry out here, let's say, like if I had offset points along an alignment or something and I needed to snap to that with station values or whatever, I should be able to get a precise location from those other labels as well. And if I wanted to change, let's just do automatic, and you can see too that label is going to move from on, excuse me, on the line to either above or below, just depending on where my crosshairs are moving here, right? And I've got that curve lock enabled, so it doesn't matter how far I move away, it's going to keep that label on that line work. There we are. All right, last command here. So TXT Mac there allows me to work with existing text, right? But if I want to create some text, I can use my TXTLABEL, and this just uses the current text settings in your AutoCAD drawing, of course. So if I say path here for my label, it's going to come in. It has my text in there, and I can put labels in. Now this is kind of handy as well, because like I said, with the TXT Mac there, like it has options to curve lock and show the elevation and distance and such, and automatic for the text placement there, either like above or below. So all the same functionality as the TXT Mac, with the added bonus of creating the text label there for me. And you can see, let's just escape out of that. You can see here, let's bring up property palette, that it's creating M text, and it's automatically assigning the mask on here for me, right? So it puts that mask in there. So it should be hiding off. If I do a regen here, we can see it hides off a little bit better. Hides the line work there for us, right? Rather than having to do any trimming with labels over top of our line work, using that mask there turned on, and it's just using the background color, right? It just enables the background color by the default, and just some default values assigned to that. So that's a very handy little command, I find, being able to create a label there, just using my current text settings, essentially my current layer, and just giving it straightforward text string, and I'm away labeling, right? So I can add in a whole bunch of labels very quickly. So that is all the commands I wanted to run through for today. So just in closing there, a little recap. That was the proximity point, the P-line buffer, the TXT Mac, and the TXTLABEL commands. Again, these are available via the website at www.octal7.com and go into the download area. Of course, you'll need to fill out the little information form and accept the terms of use. For the this is essentially in a beta or technical preview, looking for some feedback from the community, like the drafting community or AutoCAD community as a whole, and looking for any potential bugs or errors and stuff like that. So right now it's currently free to use. At some point this will disappear, of course, so get in there and access it while you can, right? This will be limited time offer, so do make use of the offer, or the moment here. Take advantage of that, right? All right, again, I'm Ben Weir with Octal 7 signing off. I hope you have a great rest of your day and great week. Take care.